What is mediation law in India? Let me start with a simple situation. Suppose two people have a dispute. They can either go to court and spend years fighting the case, or they can sit together with the help of a neutral third person and try to resolve the issue peacefully. That peaceful method of resolving disputes is called mediation. Hello everyone, my name is Vintee and I am currently working as an intern under Lawminds. Today, we are going to understand mediation in India through the Mediation Act 2023. Earlier, mediation existed in India only through court rules and legal service authorities. There was no single dedicated law governing mediation. The Mediation Act 2023 fills that gap and gives mediation a clear legal structure. Before I move along with my slides, let me tell you that they will only contain important pointers. So please listen carefully and make your notes as we go. Chapter 1 and 2 of the Act will help you answer the question, what exactly is mediation, as they together explain the foundation of the Act. First, Chapter 1 tells us that this law is called the Mediation Act 2023. It applies to the whole of India and it comes into force on dates notified by the central government. This means mediation is now recognized as a nationwide dispute resolution mechanism. Further, Chapter 2 explains when this act applies and what mediation means. The Act applies when mediation is conducted in India, when parties live or do business in India, when parties agree that the dispute will be governed by this Act, and even in cases of international commercial mediation. The definition of mediation is thus very important. It means a process where parties try to resolve their dispute amicably with the help of a neutral third person called a mediator. The mediator does not have the power to impose a decision, which clearly shows that mediation is voluntary and party controlled. Chapter 3 then explains how mediation starts. It usually begins through a mediation agreement. This agreement must be in writing, but the law is very flexible. It can be a clause in a contract, a separate agreement, emails exchanged between parties, or even pleadings filed in court if both sides agree that mediation exists. This chapter also introduces pre-litigation mediation, which means that parties can attempt mediation even before filing a case in court. This helps in reducing unnecessary litigation and saves time and money. Court and tribunals also have the power to refer parties to mediation at any stage of proceedings. However, the law makes it clear that parties are never forced to settle. Mediation thus encourages settlement, but it does not compel it. Chapter 4 focuses on the mediator, who plays a central role in the mediation process. The law allows parties to freely choose their mediator and decide the appointment procedure. A mediator can even be of foreign nationality, provided they meet the required qualifications. If parties are unable to agree on a mediator, mediation service providers can appoint one from their panel. An important part of this chapter is disclosure of conflict of interest. A mediator must disclose any personal, professional, or financial interest that may affect their neutrality. If parties are not satisfied, they have the right to replace the mediator. Chapter 5 explains how mediation proceedings actually take place. Mediation is intentionally kept informal. The mediator is not bound by the Code of Civil Procedure or the Evidence Act. This allows discussions to be flexible and practical rather than technical. The mediator's role is to help parties understand each other's perspectives, identify issues, explore settlement options, and communicate effectively. However, the final decision always rests with the parties. Mediation proceedings must normally be completed within 120 days, which can be extended by another 60 days with consent. Is mediation confidential? Yes, confidentiality is one of the core pillars of mediation, and Chapter 6 deals with this in detail. everything said, done, or exchanged during mediation is confidential. Parties cannot later use mediation communications as evidence in court or arbitration. This includes statements, documents, proposals, etc. Audio or video recording of mediation proceedings is also prohibited to protect confidentiality. However, the law provides limited exceptions such as threats to commit an offense, information relating to child abuse or domestic violence, or serious threats to public safety. This chapter ensures that parties can speak freely during mediation without fear that their words will be used against them later. Chapter 7 then explains what happens when mediation is successful. When parties reach a settlement, it must be reduced into writing, signed by the parties, and authenticated by the mediator. This written document is called a mediated settlement agreement. Such a settlement is final and binding on the parties. It can also be registered for record purposes, though registration is optional. Next question that comes in everyone's mind is, can a mediated settlement be challenged? The answer is yes, but only in limited situations. Chapter 8 allows a mediated settlement agreement to be challenged only on specific grounds such as fraud, corruption, impersonation, or if mediation was conducted in a dispute that was not fit for mediation. There is also a strict time limit for filing such challenges. This prevents misuse and ensures that settlements are respected. Now, Chapter 9 formally recognizes online mediation by saying that mediation can be conducted through video conferencing or other secure electronic platforms provided that the parties give their written consent. The law emphasizes that confidentiality and integrity of the process must be maintained at all times. Thus, this chapter makes mediation more accessible, especially in a digital and post-pandemic world. Chapter 10 establishes the Mediation Council of India and helps us answer the question, who regulates mediation? The Council is responsible for registering mediators, recognizing mediation institutes and service providers, laying down ethical standards, and promoting mediation both within India and internationally. This chapter ensures that mediation is properly regulated and professionally conducted. Finally, Chapter 11 deals with community mediation. Community mediation is meant for disputes that affect peace and harmony in local areas such as family or neighborhood disputes. Panels of respected community members act as mediators to help restore harmony. Settlements reached through community mediation aim at maintaining peace and are not enforceable like court decrees. This shows that mediation is not only a legal mechanism but also a social tool for conflict resolution. That brings us to the end of Mediation Act 2023. I hope this session helped you understand mediation clearly and confidently. I would also strongly advise you to go through the Act yourself and familiarize yourself with the sections mentioned under each chapter, because reading the bare Act will give you a much better and deeper understanding. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Lawminds for more simple and beginner-friendly law content. Thank you for staying till the end, and I'll see you next time.